Good afternoon. Hello. Welcome to the TriathlonDan YouTube channel. Now, I'm not sure if this video is going to go out before the Deca nutrition video or after. So just in case it's before, good afternoon, Sam. You okay?
Afternoon. Are you well?
Yeah, I'm well, thank you. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. Yeah, all good.
So if, like me, you can't read that writing on Sam's hoodie, Sam runs a company called Total Endurance Nutrition. As the name dictates, specializing in endurance athletes nutrition, ranging from, well, I'll perhaps let you say something about what does Total Endurance Nutrition do, Sam?
Yeah, so we're just providing support for predominantly age group triathletes and endurance athletes, essentially. All the way from sort of daily nutrition plans, including race support, race prep, let's say, just making sure that everyone can get a good nutrition base in place alongside, their busy lives. And then making sure that they nail or they've got a plan come race day to execute a solid race, really, and let their training show, reflect what they've done, reflect in their performance.
Yeah. Okay. So I've known Sam for probably a year or so now. I've supported James with the Deca. I've seen your work firsthand, experienced your knowledge firsthand. Now, on this channel, I've documented for about 4 years now my triathlon journey. And within that, there's also been a weight loss journey. It's been a bit of a roller coaster. It's no secret that next year I want to try and be the best I can be. I'm not under any illusions that I'm going to be beating Gustav Iden, but I definitely want to try and be the best triathlete I can be, like probably many of you watching this video are. So in this video, I'm going to be sharing a little bit about my journey, where my struggles are, and then hopefully where Sam's going to come in and help me. But we're not going to make a claim in this video that, oh, you're going to do this, this, and this, and then it's all going to be okay. That's going to be documented over the next few months as we together work towards this. Obviously, I need to put the work in. I can't expect that Sam's going to do it for me, but he's certainly going to advise me. So I came into triathlon in 2013, 2014. I was 20 stone. I'd started running after I'd ran as a teenager, then found the pub, etc. And then after loads of injuries, turned to triathlon, loved it, rode my bike, and gradually, up until 2018, had lost weight, and I got down to about 90 kilos from about 120. I then in 2018 started eating a plant-based diet, and for whatever reason I then lost loads of weight. And then fast forward to spring of 2019, I was in what I consider to be the best physical shape I've ever been in. I was about 79 kilos. I was putting out decent power on the bike. I was running pretty well, and I was happy and healthy. I wasn't getting injured. I wasn't feeling tired, but I was very active in my life. I was doing a lot of triathlon training, as we do. I was a retained firefighter, so I was often called out in the night and doing physically intensive work as well as working full time. So all those things just combined just meant I was very physically fit. Then 2020 rolled around. I put a little bit of weight on, a couple of kilos, nothing to worry about. Obviously, COVID lockdowns hit. I wasn't a retained firefighter anymore. We moved house. I've didn't train as much. I certainly wasn't anywhere near as strict enough with my diet, and that's led to a bit of a snowball effect of me putting on weight. Now, beginning of this year, I was about 97 kilos, and I slowly got down to about 90 by May, June time. And then after event season, I've gone back up to pretty much 96, 97 kilos again. Now, weight isn't the be all and end all, and I'm really conscious about talking about weight on the internet because I don't want people to who weigh more than me to look at this and think, oh, I need to lose weight then to be how much he weighs. And I don't want people at the other end to think, oh, I need to put weight on. Like, I'm just sharing my journey and where I am and my thoughts with it. So if I say the wrong thing at any point, or if I say something you think isn't quite right, I can only apologize. I'm just trying to share my journey in the hope that some people can empathize with me and some people can get something from it. Now, I'm happy to put my journey out there on the internet, and I'm happy for you to voice your thoughts and opinions. All I would ask is please be nice. I do have feelings. I know I appear to have quite a thick skin, but occasionally I get comments about my appearance, and I do dwell on them a little bit. I'm not going to say that I struggle with them and they keep me up at night and so on, but it is something that I'm aware of, more so for other people looking as well. I think if somebody watches a video of me and perhaps they're I don't know, not in as physically good shape as me, and they see a comment criticizing me, they might think, well, I'm really not in good shape then. And that's not what we want. We're in this together. We're trying to get fit and healthy. I think I've covered everything there. Yeah, I'm perhaps going to skip the childhood food journey. I think we'll cross this bridge in another few weeks because I believe there are some deep-rooted food issues, Sam, but we'll come across those in the next few weeks. But anyway,
it's good content.
yes. So off camera, Sam, we just discussed vaguely how you're going to be supporting me over the next few weeks, months, who knows how long. So perhaps you want to tell us what we're doing, and I'm assuming this is what you do for many athletes.
Yeah, so one of the first things that, well, I've asked you to do, and you've done very kindly, is just document 2 or 3 days of what is normal for you at the moment. And that gives me a start point, essentially. I always say this to everyone because they're almost a little bit scared to tell me, or they might be scared to tell me and think, oh, I'm working with a nutritionist, I need to impress them. Actually, just tell me exactly as it is, so I know the start point that we're working from.
I feel like that might be a video title. So you're welcome to share. So I wrote down the last 2 days what I've and drank some of it. Do you want to share what I've ate and drank for the last 2 days? And just give it a context, this is probably an average day. I wouldn't say it's a bad day. There are definitely days when I have like sweets and chocolate as well as what's on there. And there are days that are better. So
yeah, and I suppose I can comment as I go in terms of am I happy with this or not, or if there are areas that I think we'll work on, we'll touch upon that.
And
so
speak as freely as you like. I might have said that bit about not having a thick skin, but people I know, it's a lot easier to take.
Yeah, so 9 o'clock breakfast, you're having porridge with some protein in and a banana. Now that's fairly good. So the key,
good.
That's a good start to the day. So you're getting some slow release carbs in your diet from the porridge, and you're getting some protein in, which is often quite low. That we see people's protein intake is quite low, particularly at breakfast. Whereas you're hitting your sort of 25-30 grams of protein there. So that's a great start to the day. Mid-morning cuppa with 2 sugars in it, which you might address. You've had a couple of chocolate biscuit bars or cake bars.
Belvita bars, yeah.
Yeah, with that. You've then gone for a run, so that's not too bad, which is good to see. You're sticking to those midday runs, which is perfect. Then comes lunch, which is many fried eggs, 6 times fried eggs, which I was like, wow, good effort. With white toast, butter and ketchup. Mid-afternoon, again, a couple of sugars in. Bowl of Cocoa Pops with milk. That was sort of 3:30ish. Then a can of Red Bull at 5. An easy bike session for an hour, and then you had your dinner, which is some tofu and veg fajitas. Again, which sort of fairly happy with that. You're getting some vegetables in there. So I think the start of the day is great, and the end of the day is not too bad. What's happening in between is, there's a few issues to look at there, I think. And one of the things that I always try and say to people is what we want to do initially is get a structure in place whereby we're hitting some key things. And one of those is enough protein in the diet. So I would say that your protein intake could be increased. What we typically look at is about 1.5 to 2 grams of protein per kilo body weight. So for you, somewhere around 150 to maybe 180, 190 grams of protein per day. The reason for that is that the protein in your diet is essentially providing the foundation for everything else. So that's if we think about your diet as a pyramid, the protein's the bottom of the pyramid, really. So we're looking to get that right through the day. So firstly, the protein is important for recovery. From the training that we're doing, it's going to support our body in adapting to the training that we're doing. But it's also great from feeling full. So if we're thinking about weight loss as a goal here, then having sufficient protein in the diet can keep you fuller for longer. And therefore you should avoid just snacking in between meals and with poorer choices, let's say, that we're trying to offset that. So that's the reason to get the protein right. And one of the things that we try and do is, and what is optimal, is have regular intake of protein through the day. So for you, we'll probably look at like 5 or 6 eating occasions where we're taking in maybe 20 to 30, maybe 35 to 40 grams of protein at each eating occasion. And that then gets you up to the 150, 180 grams of protein through the day. And again, we know from research that that's the kind of optimal way to take in all your protein. what we see as a society, where we have a very small breakfast, lunch is a little bit bigger, and then dinner's like the big meal of the day, and protein, tracks that. So everyone's having all their protein in the evening, but that isn't optimal, particularly for, people who are training 2 or 3 times a day around work and life as well. So getting the protein right through the day is going to be one of the first things that we try and address. Yeah.
Okay. I think I was making a few notes. You were talking about the problems that I have and what I'm looking for. So I'm quite a habitual person. I will park in the same car park space when possible. I will get up at the same time. I'll do a lot of things in routine. So I think, and I'm not trying to make excuses, I'm trying to explore in my own mind why I do certain things. So like that mid-morning cup of tea, I'm never thirsty. I never need it. I've got a glass of squash next to me or something. Like it's just it's time for a cup of tea. And we were talking off camera about Atomic Habits by James Clear, and I know I need to work on my habits. So I think some of those things could be fixed by just getting into better habits. But some of those things, like a late evening bowl of cereal, for example, if it's in the house, I will just have one because it's there and it's in the house. Those 2 days that I sent to you, I'd work from home on both those days. And I find my diet is a little bit different when I'm at home to when it is in the office, because I'll take food with me into the office and then I can only eat what I've got there unless I go to a cafe or something. Whereas at home, you've got the cupboards and you've got the fridge, haven't you? So it's easier to walk in there and fill your pockets up, and for me, come back upstairs with a pocket full of food.
Yeah.
Moderation is something that I struggle with as well. If there's ever a chocolate bar, I'll eat it all. If there's ever a package of cakes, I'll have it all. 6 eggs at lunchtime. Why am I eating 6 eggs? Well, that's because there's a half a dozen box, and I for whatever reason, I can't just pick out 2 or 3. I just crack them all. Like I don't know, but it's just I struggle to moderate. That's part of the reason why I was plant-based. I believed that, and I could, as I proved, steer clear of a lot of bad foods by just not having any of them. And that was okay until all these vegan Ben and Jerry's and everything else came out. So that wasn't a permanent fix. That was just a temporary, okay, what can I class myself as to stop eating this bad food? I think accountability is something that I really benefit from, both in training and in life in general. So I now have a triathlon coach. I've not had a coach for a little while, and I'm really finding that it's holding me accountable to the training that I'm doing. I think in the same way, although it was for the last 2 days, I'm not really accountable because I'm just writing down what I'm eating. I know that if Sam is saying to me, and if I'm, a paying customer, and Sam is saying, you need to eat this to put you in the best possible shape to do your bike session in the evening, whilst also trying to maintain some sort of calorie deficit if you want to drop some weight. If I'm not doing that, then Sam's going to say, why aren't you doing that? And I'm accountable to somebody. So I'm looking for that from this sort of relationship. I know that that's not permanent, that Sam's not going to be checking what I'm eating every day, but I'm looking to be educated, to get into better habits through accountability. So then at some point in the next 2 to 4 months-ish, I might be able to fly away and be able to do this on my own. But I know that I need professional help with this. For those that have been around the channel for a couple of years, might have seen that I did a similar sort of thing with a lady called Fran. Fran was brilliant, and Fran sort of gave me some education and told me what to do, and I did it for a little bit, and then I just didn't do it. And then Fran left where I worked, so I didn't see her every day. It was easy to not be accountable to her, and we sort of just went our separate ways, and that was it. So I wasn't accountable enough to myself or to somebody else, and I know that I need to work on that, because you can only really be, to quote Matthew Waterfield, true accountability comes from within, he keeps saying to me. And as annoying as he is, I think that's probably right. So that's what I'm looking for from Sam and Total Endurance Nutrition to sort of try and help me, because I believe that the biggest performance limiter to myself at the minute is weight, and my number one priority is not to lose weight. My number one priority is to perform the best I can. And one of the things that I need to do is to optimize my weight.
And I think you kind of touched on it there. So the accountability for me comes from education. So if you understand that we've talked about protein there, if you understand why it's critical to have protein at regular intervals through the day, then you should be able to more confidently make the choice to eat something or not eat something, and that keeps you accountable if you understand. So I think it's worth saying a big part of what we do is not just here's a plan, follow it. It's also about understanding why there is why there's certain things in that plan for that person, and that then promotes accountability for you. I think going back to what you sent me through, one of the other key things that I see is, the cup of tea isn't too much, that's not an issue. It's the 2 sugars in the cup of tea. And that'll, spike your blood sugars. And then it's the chocolate, what was it, hazelnut bar and the McVitie's cake bar. Again, that'll spike your blood sugars. And it's interesting that particularly on the Monday that actually you sent through in the afternoon, you had a cup of tea with sugars, and then an hour later a bowl of Cocoa Pops. And an hour before that you'd had a Belvita bar. And these things are, very sort of include simple sugars basically, and so your blood sugar is going up and then down, and that's what's making you think, oh, I'm probably a little bit hungry now, I'll have something else, or you go looking for something else, or you start craving some more sugar. So what we want to try and do is obviously get away from that in time, and again give you different snacks that, well, are going to give you enough protein, but also provide some more maybe slow release carbohydrates in them, or the combination of food will slow the release of those carbohydrates down. It's not that snacking is a bad thing, it's fine to do, but it's about making the right choices on those snacks, which becomes important. And like, not that I'm a big proponent of super sapiens, let's say, but in terms of understanding for people, then it's not, that it's a useful tool potentially. So if I was going to draw what your blood sugars would look like for the day, they'd just be like up and down, up and down, up and down. What we want is to, them to just be a bit more, maybe even up and down, not so big in magnitude, the kind of spikes, because that's what's driving the hunger and also driving the cravings that make you keep eating these types of things. And this is where the issues start to lie. So what we're trying to do, not that I'm going to give you a super sapiens to wear or anything like that, and if you want to, then feel free.
Can't afford it.
Well, yeah, that's part of the issue. But we're trying to keep your blood sugars fairly stable through the day, because then, when it comes to training, you're prepared, and we can think about how you're going to approach those different sessions, of course. But you're not getting these extremes of low and high blood sugars, which I would guess is what's happening based on what your food diary is saying at the moment.
Yeah. I think another point of the habitual thing is I never look at what training I'm doing that day and fuel accordingly. I think I always eat like I'm training for an Ironman or several Ironmans. And then on the days where I'm not doing it, like today, I've only ran at lunch. And during this discussion, my Garmin's congratulated me on my more restful day because I haven't done an evening bike session, but I still ate exactly the same. So that's something I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, and
learning to adapt.
Yeah, and that's the key thing is, and this is what the aim I would say for us initially working together is, what we want to do is get a daily structure in place that means that you're hitting your protein, you're getting the slow release carbs, you're getting enough fruit and veg in your diet, and that all sounds great. But in terms of your overall diet to support your training, that's really critical, because that's the kind of base to then go, right, okay, so I've got this hard session here, I need to add some fuel in here, or I've got this hard session, tomorrow I need to think about what I'm eating for dinner tonight, or what I'm eating for lunch that day, or something like that. So it's getting the basic structure in place first, and then we build from that, and support the training appropriately, really. So I suppose I can talk a little bit about how we're going to do that. And the way we generally work with people, most people have training peaks these days. A lot of people are coached that we work with, not everyone, but a lot of people are. And so what we'll do is link your training peaks to mine. And ultimately what I'm going to put in for you each day is like a daily nutrition plan. So that'll say, right, for breakfast, you want this, mid-morning snack, it's going to be this, lunch, this, mid-afternoon snack, and then dinner. And because I can see what your training is, and I can look back at some of your sessions and over the first few weeks work out what your sort of expended calories are for those sessions, I can start to make sure that we're okay, today's a good day to create a deficit, or we don't need too much of a deficit today because you've got harder sessions to do. And just think about that through the week and from day to day, really. So that is how the information will come to you. And I think Training Peaks is a great forum also to have feedback. So if you have a coach, as you do, your coach might comment on some of your sessions. You might feed back to your coach via Training Peaks, but you can do the same, from a nutrition perspective as well. So we encourage people to reflect on the day. It only needs to be 2 minutes in the evening and go, right, okay, I've got breakfast right today. Had a bit of an issue at work, so I missed my mid-morning snack. Lunch was fine. I was a bit hungry in the afternoon on top of the snack that you'd suggested. So I had this, and then dinner was as planned. And it's just little reflections like that which help me build and support you, but also create those habits over time, I think, as well for you.
Yeah. I've got many regrets in life, but one of them is that when I look back to 2019 as the year where I felt it clicked, I've got all the training on Training Peaks, but there's not a single comment or reflection. So the last couple of weeks, I've started commenting after every session. It might even be something like felt good, felt mint, felt cruisy, or sometimes it's a bit more than that. And as you say, I think I need to do the same with this, because that'll help me now, but it'll also help me in 6 months when, I felt terrible today. What did I do when I last did this session? Or when I had this sort of day, what was I eating? What was I drinking? Because I felt good then. What was I doing then? So yeah, I think that's definitely something I want to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And what I would say to start with as well, and moving forward, is okay. I can provide this support in terms of a plan for each day, but life gets in the way sometimes. Absolutely, when we're busy, families, work gets busy, as we all know. It gets a bit crazy at times. So what I always say to people is, it's not about trying to be perfect every single day. It's about maybe getting 80% of it right, and then you build from that point, really. And again, it's like training, isn't it? If you're consistent in training over time, it all comes together. And it's much the same with the nutrition as well. It's about trying to be as consistent as you can, but accepting you can't be perfect. We all have off days as well, and that's fine. It just can't be 2, 3, 4 off days in a row. That's when it starts to become an issue.
Yeah. Okay. Do you need to have any more information about targets or what I want to do, or is it just?
So this is one of the things that we say initially. So you've told me that you want to lose weight, which is absolutely fine. And again, I'll go back to the point I made before. It's about, if you get that daily structure in place, the weight more than likely will come off anyway. And also, no, we've not actually talked about, which is good, a sort of weight loss goal. Quite often people come to me and say, well, I want to lose X amount of kilos, and also I want to lose it in this specific time. And I think that's very individual. And also, when you break it down for people, it might not, when you break it down on a week by week basis, it becomes like, oh, okay, actually maybe that's a bit unreasonable, or okay, I could, but it's gonna, I might be starving some days or whatever. And we don't want that, because that's not fun and something you can stick to. So in the first instance, I would say, let's get this structure in place. Let's get the habits created. And probably as a result of that, the weight will start to come down naturally anyway. Yeah. And then, you review that target, or you maybe think, right, okay, so this is what's happened in this 4 weeks or this 8 weeks. Where can we go from there? And we, it's one of those things that we sort of constantly review. I think as endurance athletes as well, you always think, well, we can, if someone says, right, okay, so we're going to have 60 grams of carbs per hour, you go, well, I can push that to like 70 or 80, because we always take the extreme, and we can always do a little bit more. And people have that opinion of, or idea in terms of weight loss as well, but actually it's better to do it gradually. And what we're looking to do is not just drop weight, but alter body composition. So part of going back to the protein, having enough protein is going to mean that the weight loss isn't mainly muscle mass. We're trying to hold on to the muscle, because that's the functional tissue that's going to make you cycle faster, run faster, etc. But we want to lose fat. So that's another thing to think about, and that's why getting that structure in place first is the appropriate way to do it. Yeah.
I find myself falling into the trap of having number targets, but I think the only reason I have the number targets is because I have been there. It's not a theoretical aim. It's a couple of years ago, I weighed 79, 80 kilos, and I think I hovered around 81-ish for a while. Felt good, training well, not ill, those sorts of things. So I have that in mind. However, having that in mind doesn't actually affect what I do day to day. No matter how many times I write on a bit of paper in front of me in this office, goal in 2 months to weigh this much, it doesn't actually change what I'm doing that day. So therefore that target just doesn't become relevant because it, as you say, it doesn't do anything. So working on those routines, I'm hoping will find me to be in that situation, because that's all I did when I got to there in the first place. It was Liz, my other half, is brilliant, and she does 95, she's really near shot 100% of the cooking at home, and cooked loads of fabulous lentils, chickpeas, no processed things, and all. Didn't have any rubbish in the house, and I felt like because of that, I got to that position. So I know it's achievable. And really, simply, I have honestly in the last year, I bet I've spent £700-800 on clothes I can't fit in, because I thought I'll get all that while it's in the sale, because I'll fit in that in 2 or 3 months, and I've never worn it. I've got the Hoob Anemoy, whatever, this time last year, whatever the top of the range tri-suit was, I bought it, and I've got a skin suit, and I've got whatever else, and I've never been able to wear it because I can't physically fit in it. And there's a new one out now. I've not even got the most up-to-date tri-suit. I've never worn it, still got tags on. But things like that, I want to be able to go in there and wear like I've got a tri-suit that I wore at Ironman Wales in 2019, loved it. I want to wear it again. I can't fit in it.
Yeah.
It's not like it's a little bit uncomfy because I'm a little bit heavy. I physically can't zip the damn thing up. So it's things like that that I know that when I get that back on, that will be like the achievement. But I know it's so far away, and I know I need to work on this so much to get there. So
Yeah, I think, yeah, no, that's a great.
And I won't worry then that I'm 83, not 81 or whatever. Just getting that tri-suit on will be.
Yeah, that's a great way to look at it. I think going back to the numbers thing, some people do like that and they like the number. But what I would say is, at least initially, I'll look after the numbers. If you want to know the numbers, you can know the numbers. But that's devolved within this plan, let's say. Anyway, it's almost like you just worry about trying to stick to this plan or work this plan out and get it in place. And the numbers will kind of take care of themselves in many ways. That's not to say that down the line, if we think, right, okay, there's this race and we want to try and get to a certain weight, then it does become a bit of a numbers game, of course, and we can look at the details of that as and when we need to, if that's the case. But for most people, it's not. We try to avoid that, because it's something else to worry about as well for people, alongside power numbers, pace, etc. They're doing.
The annoying thing is when I was like, when I was like 17, 18 kilos lighter than I'm now, I was doing more power than I do now. That just doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Normally people are like, oh, you're heavier, you'll put more power out. Apparently not.
But that goes back to that functional tissue, doesn't it? The muscle. So yeah, ultimately what we're trying to do is improve body composition, and it'll come.
Okay, I'll link you up on Training Peaks then. Prepare to be unimpressed, and we will go from there. So obviously all those things sound really good in theory, but there's a lot of things go off in the background. You need to do the food chopping based on what sort of things you're going to be telling me to eat, and then the training needs to be in there so you can see what I'm doing day to day, so then you can plan what to eat and so on. Okay.
I suppose one of the things that we try and do is also account for the family in this as well. So the plan that I'll give you, like, I can also say, right, okay, if Liz wants to stick to use some of this, then these are the bits that we might think about that she wants to, like, particularly evening meals, everyone cooks together. It might be that she also, some of the lunches that I suggest, she might say, oh, I'll have a bit of that as well.
I bet she will.
So there you go, and that, but we trying to accommodate that as well. So you're not doing food waste, or cooking a specific meal or having a specific diet just for you. And elements of that family can use as well.
Yeah, we'll have all the food I like, and I'll say, Sam says you got to eat this.
Well, that's fine, mate. Yeah.
Brilliant. Okay, sounds good. We're not going to be doing these sort of Zoom call video updates all the time. Don't worry, I'm going to try and document this every day at 1 o'clock, as I do. But Sam, thank you very much for your time. If people want to get in touch with you, how's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, Instagram. So it's total_endurance_nutrition, or via the website as well. You can contact us on totalendurancenutrition.com via the contact form on there.
Brilliant. And that's either if you want some nutrition help or if you want any Kona tips, because Sam's just got back from Kona.
Some tips, yeah. There might even be a blog on there at some point as well about that. So yeah.
Excellent too. All right. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Dan. Nice to see you.